the Americans are not supposed to come back into Baghdad unless they're invited there specifically by the Iraqi government, which is a pretty, significant loophole because the American allied government in Iraq is, quite likely to make an invitation if it's in the interest of their American allies. So it is easy to imagine this government, the same Maliki government, giving the U.S. permission to stay beyond 2011. And that would be a total disaster. It would be a major victory for al-Qaeda. First of all, it would radically delegitimize the government and also the Sunni militia, the awakening groups that made this temporary alliance with America. And also, we did an interview in February with Salah al-Obeidi, the spokesman for the Sadr movement, who said that they right now, the leaders of the Shiite resistance to the American occupation, view the current American timetable for withdrawal as a truce. And that they're waiting to see if the U.S. makes good on its promise for a full withdrawal of all troops by 2011 before beginning attacks again. So a prolonged American presence, it would be a disaster for Iraq. It would end the Sadr ceasefire. It would strengthen al-Qaeda in Iraq, and it would continue to deepen the sectarian and tribal divisions that have already torn the country apart.
And finally, Rick Rowley, you've traveled to Baghdad numerous times over the years, perhaps more than any other unembedded journalist since the war started. Your sense of, well, the media is reporting right now. We hardly see Iraq in the corporate media discussed at all. Afghanistan is the topic of the day, and Iraq has largely been forgotten. And what is it like reporting from Baghdad right now, and your sense of the media's coverage in this country of the conflict?
Yeah, Iraq has just vanished from the front lines, from the front pages, as you say. And the violence continued. Dozens of bombings every month, a continual steady level of violence, and 120,000 U.S. soldiers there still. Still a massive American presence there, a huge war, and no media scrutiny to parallel the kind of footprint that America has on the ground right there. Clearly, hopefully that will change. Hopefully as the elections come around, there'll be more coverage, returning to Iraq. But right now it's completely out of scale with the importance of the American presence there, and the fact that the American occupation isn't over; it's continuing. Not only is it going to continue in terms of a promised American presence there, a massive American presence through the end of 2011, but it's going to continue past that with the massive U.S. embassy that's remaining there, and really institutions that have been put in, political and military institutions that have put in place in Iraq that are going to continue to be instruments of American power in the area for years and maybe decades to come.
Well, Rick Rowley, I want to thank you very much for being with us. Rick is an independent journalist with Big Noise Films who frequently reports for Al Jazeera. He's made multiple trips to Iraq and Afghanistan. He's just returned from Iraq. When we come back, we're going to take a look at Showdown in Chicago and the protests organized against the American Bankers Association annual meeting. Stay with us.
Todos vamos a la iglesia, celebremos paz en la divina tierra. ¿Y para qué pelear si por lo que peleamos ese oro negro matamos a nuestro hermano? Yo no quiero llanto